Even though it may seem complicated and difficult, a lot of data controllers will not allow you to use their data unless you keep it in the safe haven. Like, this definitely applies to a lot of the health data. It applies to a lot of the social care data. It might apply to a lot of crime-related data. So data controllers require you to keep the data safe. And unless you can ensure them that it's safe, you can't have access to that data. And safe havens are there for you to show the data controllers that the data is safe. Now, you've heard kind of a lot of difficulties and a lot of issues with using administrative data, but I want to emphasize the point that it is cheap in the sense that you don't have to conduct a survey. You don't have to pay for a survey, but it's not free, that you'll have a considerable time investment to use those data. The scale is huge. It's often 100% of the population you're interested in. And just as we've heard already before, you can look at rare events. You can look at suicides, which otherwise would be very difficult to look at. You can look at small subgroups, ethnic or religious minorities. You can looked after children. People who would otherwise make up a very small percentage of the population and a very small percentage of your survey. And you can have very detailed geographic variation, which you might not have in surveys. It's a great tool for policy analysis, as Ruth has mentioned. You can do before and after studies. You can look at people and their behavior before an intervention in a very detailed manner and after the intervention. And you can track individuals across multiple domains and over time. So it can be a very powerful tool. You can also nowadays link administrative data to surveys, even the census. So you can get additional information about these people from the surveys. So how to actually access these data? I think one of the best ways is to actually go to a center like UBDC or Administrative Data Research Network or to the FAR Institute. It's very difficult to go at it alone as a researcher. So what we do is we will give you advice on how to submit applications to data controllers, what boxes you need to tick. What do you have to do? What relevant documentation you need? How to fill out that documentation? We will give you free access to the safe haven, so you don't actually have to pay for that. And we will also give you access to the linkage service. So that's what we do for researchers. We connect you to the data by giving you advice on how to do all these applications, give you access to the safe haven and the data linkage service. So how to do that? You need to get in touch with us, contact us via a web form or by emailing us. We would like your research to be urban focused, but we have no definition of what is urban. So it's up to you to make a case for. It needs to be UK based, and that's because of a lot of the legal requirements. You need to be, the principal investigator needs to be from a UK-based institution. We will also look whether the work is feasible and whether the data is available, and we'll advise you on that, whether we think it's a feasible project and whether the data is available. So as the next thing, we will ask you to submit a full project proposal form specifying the research question, the scientific and public impact, the data and methods, and who the researchers are who are going to be accessing that data. And I've highlighted data and methods just because, unlike many other grant or PhD or research applications, data and methods in these type of applications are very long sections. And like Catherine said, you really need to state each individual variable that you want to use and say why you want to use that. So it is a much more specific with respect to the data and methods than usual applications. In terms of the scientific and public impact, we've really literally gone to Scottish government and these types of institutions and looked from their webpage to say what are the national goals for the government. And we've kind of cited these back to them saying that, well, one of your national goals is to reduce health inequalities. Well, that's what this project does. So you need to kind of tell the data controller, we're actually going to do exactly what you also want to do. So that's the way to kind of go about it. Now, while you start filling out your project proposal form, what we're going to do with you also is have informal talks with the data controllers. We're going to find out if there's an option for you and them to sit down and discuss and talk about that data. Is the variable you think is there, is it actually there? Are the years you think are there, are they actually there? And what else might be possible? So I think this is quite important to actually sit down and talk to the data controllers about the data. Your project will then go to the Research Approvals Committee. So this is external to UBDC. They'll evaluate your research, its academic and public impact. We will submit an appraisal report with it, but that would more be technical, saying that, yes, we have the resources to do that. Yes, we think the data is available and there. And you will need an ethics approval from your home institution. But I think the ethics approval isn't the major hurdle in all this. So finally, when your project is approved, you will need to have applications and legal arrangements with the data controllers. And again, we're there to help you sign these data sharing agreements and make these applications to data controllers. You will undergo an approved researcher training, which sounds maybe a bit daunting, but it's actually fairly straightforward. There's an online course that the Medical Research Council provides that's free that you can do. It should take you about 3 to 4 hours, so it's not too bad. And then once everything is in place, you'll sign a user agreement with a center like Amy's, a safe haven that will allow you access to the data. And finally, you'll have access. You can do your research. Like Amy said, the activities will be monitored. So they will just monitor that you won't become too interested in any specific individual. That might be a hint that you're trying to kind of understand who that person is. So if that happens, they will discontinue your use and kick you out of the safe haven. All outputs that you want to publish or take to a conference have to go through a screening, and they have to be cleared just for statistical disclosure. So they won't check, whether your research is good or bad, or does it prove a point someone else wants to prove. They'll just check that does the cell frequency in that table, is that above 3, 4, or 5? If it's 1, it might disclose someone. So that's why they screen your outputs. And finally, we as a center are very interested in you reporting back to us on the work you've done, the conferences you've been to, and the publications you have submitted and have been accepted. So right now, we have just opened and a call for expressions of interest. I'm just going to wait for a second. So this is our website. On the front page of our website is a call for expressions of interest. Apply to use our data services. And this applies to all of our data services, data acquisitions where we pay for your data, or for the control data service. What you can do is just click on this Apply Now button, and it takes you to this brief web form, a description of the services and the data we have, and a web form. So we would ask you to fill out a brief web form to say what is your research goals, what kind of data you want, and so forth. And then what we'll do is kind of take a first look and see, is this project something that we could potentially support? So the call for the expressions of interest is open till the 31st of March. After that, the final deadline for projects are due the 31st of May, and the decision whether we support or don't support the project will be due mid-July. Okay, so this is it from us. Thank you very much for being here. I really hope this was useful to you all, and hopefully you'll have a lot of interesting projects and ideas to come to us in the future. Thank you very much. And we can have lunch now. Thank you.